course, there's this battle back and forth, and Adam touched on it, whether you argue a blue wave, as Democrats still see happening by November, and will flip the House on their way. In fact, Chuck Schumer confident the Senate will go the same way. Or this red wave, now courtesy Republicans arguing that with the pickup in economic activity and the markets and these records saved today, and people feeling good about their financial fortune and their kids' jobs prospects, that all of that is combining to narrow the gap between the two parties when it comes to who should control Capitol Hill. To Newt Gingrich, of course, his latest bestseller, Trump's America. He's with us right now, the former speaker. Always good to have you, Newt. Thanks for taking the time.
Good to be with you. And let me just say, the Senate's proof that there's going to be a red wave, because I think they're clearly going to pick up somewhere between 2 and 6 Senate seats. The Republicans are going to still be in charge. Pretty hard for me to see how you have a blue wave if the Republicans actually increase the number of Senate seats they hold. And I think that's virtually a lock now between New Jersey, Florida, what you just said from Montana, a lot of different places in play, virtually all of them Democrats.
All right, so you're saying when you mentioned New Jersey that Bob Menendez will lose his seat to a Republican. All right, but let me get your take on the House side, though. Do you think Republicans can stave off losing 23 seats, which would flip that body?
Yeah, I think there's a very good chance that they'll lose some seats, but are not coming anywhere close to losing 23. The primary in California today, if John Cox, the Republican, comes in second and is in the general election, the difference that makes in turnout among Republicans in California is maybe as high as 23%. That by itself changes things. In addition, there are a couple of seats, I think, where tomorrow morning the Democrats are going to wake up and they have no Democrat in the race. And those seats will be gone to the Republicans. So what looked at one point, I just talked to John Cox a little while ago, he thinks there are actually a couple of Democratic seats that Republicans may pick up in California because the anger over the gas tax increase, the anger over what's happening to the economy, the cost of living, all those things are changing California back towards Republicans.
You know, Bill Clinton's been back in the news making some comments about the Me Too movement and the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. I was thinking of what happened 2 years into his presidency with the wave that brought Republicans to power and you to the speakership. Democrats still think that that's very likely. There's a lot of palpable rage on the left. And I think that the anger that brought Republicans to power, they argue, is alive and well today only on the left. You don't buy that?
Well, first of all, one of the reasons that I wrote Trump's America is that there are a lot of accomplishments that are changing things. If you look at the last poll, for example, from Texas, both the governor and Senator Cruz are virtually splitting the Hispanic vote now. Both of them are getting a significant share of the African-American vote. When you have the lowest African-American unemployment rate in history, good things start happening, and they're beginning to be identified with Trump and Republicans. But in addition, you look at Minnesota. They had a convention on Saturday. The left wing of the Democratic Party, it's hard to say this, you can't, since you thought, most of us thought the Democratic Party in Minnesota was already the left wing. But the left wing of the Democratic Party took over the party at the state convention Saturday. You could end up with Ellison, for example, running for Attorney General. He has no hope of winning statewide. And I think you could see a meltdown of the Democratic Party in Minnesota, which could cost them, according to my very good friend out there who watches this all the time, it could cost them as many as 3 House seats that they're not expecting to lose right now.
Do you think when the president weighs in, as he has right now, to disinviting the Philadelphia Eagles to come to the White House, or some of these other ancillary issues, they get the focus off legitimate issues, whether
Yes.
people like Donald Trump or not, are happening under his watch, which are generally good things, the economic advances, certainly the market advances. Not everyone's cup of tea, I grant you, and people can look at it through a variety of prisms. But that kind of distraction, and he's
Sure.
known for doing this a lot, hurts his message.
I think it does. And again, part of why I wrote Trump's America is to pull together in one volume the good things that are happening across the board, whether it's energy or what have you. I think President Trump at times clutters his own message to his own disadvantage.
Do you think he lies? I mean, there's been a lot of confusion over statements about meetings concerning his son, what was said before, what's said now, that a trust factor is at stake here.
I think that President Trump often just chatters, and I don't think he necessarily stops, thinks it through, puts it together. He has a compulsive style as an entertainer. He's had it his whole life. He loves chatting with people. And I don't think he doesn't think it through in the sense that you would expect somebody who came out of a different background. But it made him very successful as a businessman.
No doubt, but that sometimes can be defined as lying. I mean, if you don't remember what you said or you say something different, it's not all the time, but it happens enough times where he could be raising serious doubts about what he says and the positions he takes, right?
Well, of course he raises doubts about what he says on occasion, and sometimes he says things that clearly contradict what he said earlier. But the difference is, I don't think that he thinks in terms of trying to keep a clear, disciplined narrative. I think he thinks in terms of this minute, this conversation, this personality, and I think it's something he's done his whole life, and he's not likely to change.
No, that's probably right. Newt Gingrich, good seeing you again. Thank you very much.